Hey guys, I am out in San Francisco where I've been for the second time in the last few weeks. I came out here to watch the DVRO case between Laura Owens and her victim, Mike Marraccini. Mike is one of Laura's more public victims. There are three of them. There's Mike, Greg Gillespie, and Clayton Eckerd, and she had been holding this over his head for years. What I should mention is probably that I believe this was brought on fraudulent grounds, and this DVRO against Mike has finally been dismissed. If you don't know who Laura Owens is, I guess you could pretty much look at Law and Crime or like any network at this point. But bear in mind while you're watching this that I am not a professional podcaster. I did this right after work. I'm still in a weird time zone whack. The Adderall in my system had expired, so I was word salading and glancing around the screen a lot. But we're just going to pretend that's fine. So enjoy what Mike and Danielle had to say. So, but like one of the first things I wanted to bring up to you, and I probably mentioned this before, was that the first time I saw my face on a on a filing in your court case, I was just like mortified. I was like, oh my god, like this is terrible. You've never done anything on my YouTube channel. We met one time.
Yeah.
We met one time. And this is like crazy woman is putting my face out there on this docket for all to see forever. So I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that I could do to avoid it at this point because she seems to want to just like mention me a lot at every turn. So, but I'm sorry. I'm sure that was not comfortable.
Was that the most recent filings?
No, this was in the beginning.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, any chance for
Yeah, it was just really strange. It's like, so I'm giving money to a fundraiser, but there's like 70 other people doing the same thing. Why are you putting my picture in there? And then the lawyer, of course, just made it way worse. But so that was
I think he does that with everything now. He nukes every situation that he's in. He tries to take everybody down with him. So not only is he a terrible lawyer,
right,
but he makes her look bad as well.
Yeah. Well, you've got two people who seem to have some really unchecked mental health issues, and I can't give any specific insight into what might be going on there, but you see the behavior and you see the comments and the papers they're filing, and it's like this is paranoid. This is really insane. And I feel like the whole mental health aspect, especially in your case, has been brought up a lot because she keeps saying I have PTSD so much that I don't want to go to court because I heard Omar and Rachel talked about everything that kind of happened behind the scenes yesterday. And I'm like, nobody really gets out of these kinds of things because of PTSD. Like, people have to face their abusers every day. I don't really know what you hope to accomplish with this. But Danielle, you are a therapist, right?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. So I just thought maybe it would be interesting to kind of pick your brain about like when people use these kinds of things in domestic violence cases, and you know that Mike didn't do what he's being accused of. So I'm like thinking it's just terrible to see that happen when you know there are so many traumatized people who have this court system that's already backlogged who actually need these kinds of resources, and it's just kind of a shame to see that. Do you, as a therapist, do you have like a specialty or anything you especially like work with?
Eating disorders.
Eating disorders. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm still working towards full licensure. So I am an associate. I have about half of my hours until I can sit for the licensing exam.
Got it.
But up until this point, I've worked almost exclusively with eating disorders, and I've done a handful of mood and anxiety disorders as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say majority of my experience has been in like a pretty high level of care. So a partial hospitalization program. So they're there, 7 days a week. And yeah, a lot of the patients that I was seeing had comorbid PTSD with, their eating disorders. And I think that I recently saw something that I think it was Steve, shout out Steve, A Healthy Dose or Damn Healthy Dose, talked about how, ADHD was the example he used, is a reason, not an excuse.
Right.
And that really resonated with me because I thought back to this trial about how she was filing all of these accommodations, and that's fine. I think that they are there for a reason. It's important that people have access to these resources. If she does have a mental illness that does require an accommodation, she has a right to utilize that. But again, it goes back to it being a reason, not an excuse. And the ADA accommodation is so that you can come to court and we will accommodate you, not that you won't come to court and you don't get to be in the due process journey.
Yeah. I mean, obviously she didn't show up, but she did have that extra time. So, I mean, she kind of got what she wanted. But then that was interesting because she tried to file another ADA complaint. So I understand that. I was actually going to ask if you've ever seen a client or something that did not have to go to court because of a mental health condition or a diagnosis, because I feel like that doesn't really happen unless you're in a state hospital or something. That's different.
Not personally, no. Thankfully, I haven't had to work in the intersection of like the court system with my clients. Sometimes that gets really sticky in terms of them subpoenaing your notes. I've had colleagues that have had to deal with that, and it can be a real entanglement of issues. And so I don't believe that I've heard of that ever happening where they get out of whatever it is. I think that we had talked about, people in criminal cases, right, can plead that they are of not sound mind.
Yeah.
And that kind of will lessen the blow for certain things, like if you are deemed unfit or whatever, or you had a serious mental health episode with schizophrenia and killed somebody, right? But it was due to your schizophrenia.
Right.
But again, you still face consequences for your action.
Yeah. And it's not like if you attack somebody, they have a right to like be there in court too as well. So I just feel like it was really odd that she was trying to say, because of my PTSD, which I never know if she actually has that diagnosis or not. I know she had an NP. I can't see the ADA stuff. That's private, obviously from the public. So I just thought it was interesting that she was saying I'm so like traumatized that I can't show up. And I'm just like, that's not thing. Like you still have to. You're accusing someone. They have a right to sit there and face you in court.
Yeah, I feel like I was more traumatized. I mean, the amount of chaos that she brings with a court case is like a tsunami of information that's happening in the background, and I had to stop the team multiple times and just like apologize and tell them this is why I gave in the first time, because she overwhelms you, hits you from every possible angle, or at least thinks that she's hitting you from every angle. But it's overwhelming to be from, on the receiving end of it. I can't imagine what it's like being with her on a daily basis, like as she's going through this, because she's just all over the place. And I asked Omar and Rachel, I was like, have you ever had anything like this before? And they both said, like, I've never even had anything close to this in my life. So that made me feel better. And it shows like
the severity of
why I stepped away the first time and why I kind of just gave in. So,
well, that's also, I mean, when you think about it, I know she harps on this napkin lady thing a lot. And it's like, I don't really know. Obviously, I wasn't there what happened, but from what was always described to me, I always thought like you're seeing a reaction from somebody to this like constant abuse and badgering, and it's not really what it looks like. And so I feel like the emails and hearing about the emails constantly and all the crazy stuff, I was like, that's just even more of an example of like how she kind of pushed you to maybe be upset in that moment. I don't know what exactly was said, or I know you said you like went and like hid in the bathroom, but
I mean, everybody always asks me, like, is this napkin person real? And the truth is, I don't know. It could be a made up person. It could be a real person. I mean, that person has no idea if it was real, like what I was actually dealing with. You just saw a small glimpse of it, and we're on a red-eye flight, and she's hysterically crying like she does in some of these videos, like when she was recording herself crying. And so imagine like being on a red-eye flight with this type of person sitting next to you, hysterically crying, saying, why don't you love me? Why don't you do this? I'm so sorry. And you're just like, holy crap, you need to calm down. Like, so that's why I ended up getting up and leaving. But again, it goes back to the napkin person, if they're even real or not. If they are, they have no idea what, who they backed.
The context was.
Any idea what the context was, what led up
Right.
to it. And if they're not real, great. Who cares? So that's why I look at it.
Right. I mean, I think you handled a lot of that with a lot of patience, it sounds like. Especially, I mean, we've seen some of your texts. You did not release 2,500 texts to the public. I don't think 2,500 pages of text to the public. I've never seen that. So,
my interactions were just with Woodnick
Right.
and John Berryhill. Like, I would never release the messages. Like, I originally sent over the stuff to Woodnick and saying like, hey, this is what she sent me, and then she called me a liar. So I was like, okay, well, we're gonna get it forensically analyzed. And that's when the entire support of JSC came up, and that's the only interactions I've had. And that's not really releasing text. I don't know what happened besides what I did, but I never released any text messages.
Yeah, I don't even know where those came from. It's been so long now. It could have been like an exhibit somewhere. Somebody else like sends me a link. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'll read this. I don't really question it. Like, Mike sent me this, so I will raise money for his computer. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that.
That was a wild day.
I couldn't believe I think that was probably the most shocked I've been in the entire case.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably strong verbiage. Like, I still can't believe some of the things that are happening. Like, I read the article today from Daily Mail, and it showed, the Eckerd twins on there. And I was like,
the Eckerd twins? I haven't seen it yet. I was working until like right before we started.
So I had to text Clayton. I was like, did this actually happen, or did like Daily Mail create this? And he goes, no, that happened. And I was like, oh my God, like there's so many.
Now I know what you're talking about.
That photo of like the baby onesie
coming Valentine's Day.
Right. Coming February. Yes.
I can't even imagine doing that if I was pregnant. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I mean, going back to that, when the entire GFC raised the money, like, I remember being at the park with my daughter and just seeing the number just climb, and then it hit it within the entire duration when I was at the park. And it was
like 20, 30 minutes.
I was just in absolute shock. Like, I was showing Danielle, I was like, can you believe this? And I mean, I've cried so many times during this case, but I was definitely bawling during that time.
Yeah, I think that was the first time, going back to referencing what you said about like the most shocking. I think it was the first time that we had witnessed this influx of support. Obviously, we had seen all the things on Reddit and all the people that have been supporting us via that. But then to see people contribute financially, that was surreal, because it's one thing to, be on a Reddit thread and profess that you believe our family and his story, but it's another thing to like donate your hard-earned money to him to support that cause. And I think that GoFundMe, this new GoFundMe, has blown our socks off multiple times. I think it's a very uncomfortable position for both of us to be in asking for money. That's not typically who we are, and
I hate asking for help.
It's not a good feeling, and it's the only reason that we are where we currently are, because when she renewed in July, Mike looked at me and he's like, I can't do this. I can't financially do this. At this point,
I looked at Danielle and I said, like, I've already spent so much money fighting this person. The amount, like, I was getting quotes from attorneys, and I mean, it would have paid for both of my daughters. If they said, if we go to trial, it's going to cost a significant amount, like 6 figures. And so I thought to myself, I was like, that's both of my daughters going to college in 18 years, or whatever trade they want to get into, or whatever, education. And I thought to myself, like, it's just such a waste of money and resources to fight this. And so I felt like giving up. And that's when I told a couple of individuals, and they luckily got Omar and Rachel and the rest of the team to sign on. And raised the money, and I hated even, asking for $1, but they said like people want to help you. And I originally put that, I forget what the original amount was. And
25?
25. And they hit it by the first hearing, by the first trial. And then when the renewal happened, they told me to raise it to like 50 or 60. I forget what the numbers were. And we're already there. And so every dollar goes to them. I'm not going to go vacation in the Bahamas. I hope people know that. I'm like, it's going to them. So, and then I cover the rest. So,
well, if you're like both good, hardworking people, nobody really wants to have to ask people for money. I feel like that's, uncomfortable to have to do that, but I think everyone understands. Also, the idea was raised a bunch of times before I ever saw your thing go up. So it's not like you were going around basically floating the idea to people like, hey, help me get my, you know what I mean? Like it was other people's idea. It's not like you were really asking for anything in my view. It was like from my point of view. I didn't really think that, I know you kind of feel like when you have to ask for help like that, it kind of makes you feel like, I don't like that. Yeah. But that's not how it came across.
Well, good. And I was talking to random supporters. I think after the first trial, the first day of the first trial, and I went to coffee with this individual, and I asked, I was like, I'm going to probably have to raise more. I think I said, like, I'm going to probably it's going to cost obviously a substantial amount more to have to come back here. I'm not going to ask. And she said, I would ask. Like, I'm a donating individual, and I would be more than happy to keep contributing to make sure that your innocence is proven. And I'm so glad that I listened, and I'm so thankful for the community, because I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your experience was like so drawn out too, because you were with her for like the longest period of time. So I feel like there's just so much crazy stuff that's come out to the point where I can't imagine not wanting to help, because nobody should have to go through that, and nobody should have to like have their livelihood threatened by like court fees when they didn't, do anything wrong. But it's so crazy to see that people can actually, get something as serious as like a domestic violence type record for somebody just by basically threatening to bankrupt them.
Yeah.
That's terrible, especially for a father of 2 daughters. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think the first time she used some state-run
Klutz.
The Klutz. That's right.
I think it was Klutz. Yeah.
And where she had like unbelievable attorneys, and I realized I didn't know this until years later that it was all free attorneys for her, and so that's what she would utilize as resources for people that really need it, and she would use that against just like myself. I don't know if she did that with Greg and Clayton, but did it with me.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on some of like the older stuff, the medical records, the fake medical records. She's gone back and forth about saying this is real, this is not real when it comes to what was produced from your laptop. I guess the cancer stuff still isn't real. I'm not. Maybe I'm getting that right. I'm trying to keep up with her. But when you saw that stuff, did you ever, like, at first, did you ever question it? Like, is this like something seems off here, or did you just kind of like? Because I know that it's hard when you're with somebody and you want to believe that they have a lot of love for you and the best intentions. It's hard to think like this person might be lying about this. But did you have any like red flags go up right away? Or
of course, but I will say I was a dumb late 20s male that just didn't really understand the reproductive system. But you have to understand from my standpoint, like, I was asking for doctor's letters because I didn't believe her. And she had 2 pregnancies and 6 abortions, and 6 attempted abortions, I should say. And then with like the cancer stuff, I think I recently told somebody this because I like replayed what happened, and it's her family was all involved. They were all gaslighting me. Her mother, her father, and her sister were all part of this. So I don't know why her sister gets a free pass, but
I don't really know. I've never really heard much about her sister, but obviously I believe what you're saying. So
and then after the surgery, Laura was like, "You're not being here for me emotionally or physically, and please come over." And so I, received the doctor's letter is like, oh, maybe this is like a personal friend that's a doctor and they're writing me this, but it's coming from a real doctor. I go over to Laura's house. Her mom's icing her abdomen or lower abdomen. Her mom's there like with an ice pack on her head, ice on her abdomen, saying like
nuts.
And so I look, I'm looking down at her. I was like, do you not have any bandages? Like, is there no incisions? And she was like, no, it's not laparoscopically. They go in through, how do I say this on being on YouTube?
Internally.
They go in internally where the P goes in the V, essentially.
You don't have to censor yourself. I never do.
Okay. She said
the vagina.
The vagina. And I thought to myself, like, I mean, her mom's here icing her, and she's telling me this. Her mom's saying, yep, they're able to do that. It's crazy with technology. Now, somebody who's witnessed 2 births, I would know that would never.
I feel like that's probably how they pulled out Jan's brain. So,
but I mean, that's what happened. It was absolutely nuts to think back on. And when we were on and again, off again, like I never thought to myself, like, there's no way like she actually lied about having cancer and that happening. But now, obviously, I fully realized that she was lying about it. And I mean, even like the suicide, when she was, threatening that.
Yeah.
All of her family was involved on that as well. It's not like I was just texting them. They were calling me, asking me to, be in certain situations for her. Her sister's calling me, her mom's calling me, her dad's calling me. And then like texts would ensue after that. But they were all part of the gaslighting. And then they would rope my family into gaslighting me. Like, why aren't you there for her?
Mm-hmm.
And like, leave work, go spend time with her. She's thinking about killing herself. And so she would be then, sending my mom messages and sending my sister messages. And it was just like the way that she abused me emotionally and psychologically. Like, I have PTSD more than she will ever have PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did you ever have a conversation with your family after all that ended? Like, just like, did tell them that it like upset you that, they were kind of going with that? I mean, that's got to be a really hard thing to deal with.
They've obviously come forward and said how sorry they were.
Oh yeah. I've seen messages from she makes comments to your mom sometimes. So
yeah, I've never like approached my family though and said like, I have said like when they said like we didn't know that this was happening, I would say to them, I told you she was like out of her mind.
The only one who ever gave Mike a warning was his stepdad.
Yeah.
And was like, this is not good. This is not normal.
You should not be having this many issues in a couple of months of dating somebody. And I look back and he would always say like, just cut it off. Worst comes to worst. She loses her mind, shows up at your door, but just cut it off. Where my mom was pushing the exact opposite, saying like, you need to be there. Like, imagine if this was your daughter. And obviously she didn't have the entire picture painted, but she was trying to come at it from the standpoint of this, person's just really kind and they're not trying to manipulate you in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they
feel bad now.
Yeah, no, but I think that Laura and her family preyed on like your core values of like kindness and generosity, and knew that he was kind of the perfect victim. Quite frankly, I believe that her family may or may not have been in on it as much as she had them wrapped around her finger. And quite frankly, she could have been suicidal.
Sure.
I mean, there's no evidence to state that she wasn't. And if she was, then that's really sad and very terrible. And obviously, we want people to go and get help when they are suicidal.
Yeah.
But the emotional manipulation that comes by utilizing that as a way to ensnare somebody, that's where it becomes an issue. And from the glimpses we've gotten of the Owens family, it doesn't look like there was a lot of parenting going on, a lot of healthy boundaries going on. There wasn't a lot of probably engagement around mental health conversations, because you could see just from the police raid video footage how one, complacent Ron is, and two, how Jan is unfazed by her behavior, which speaks volumes about being desensitized to all of it for however many years this has been going on.
Right.
And so I don't know per se if they were all in on it as much as she may have just pulled the rug out from underneath all of her family members and made them believe that this was a crisis. This was serious. I need help. And typically people do that when they have been emotionally neglected, right? If you aren't taught skills on how to properly communicate and get your needs met, you're going to get your needs met in any way, which is going to be negative attention. And typically that's something you learn at a very young age when you're living with guardians, parents that aren't emotionally available or have carried their own generational trauma around dealing with conflict and or not being able to advocate for themselves. And so at the end of the day, her parents are to blame. People don't, yes, I shouldn't say that's completely true, but I look at it and I say, you know, the nature versus nurture conversation. Like, yes, there's so many parents in the world that do their best, and we all are doing our best with what we have. And your kids will turn out how they turn out, right? And I feel like there's a large amount of nurture in this situation that has influenced her trajectory in her life. And there was no accountability.
I mean, there was that one time with one of the police calls that the entire body cam video, you can see it's just Jan talking. They never even go in and talk to Laura. So I was just kind of like, wow, you really just kind of let her do what she wants and never answer to it. So
yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, she. I think I know the video you're talking about, and if I'm a police officer, she seems like a credible individual talking.
Right.
So.
Well, and let's not get into the conversation about privilege, right? About her being a wealthy white woman that is generally attractive. That all plays into this enablement process at the end of the day. Because if it wasn't somebody of her financial status, her skin color, things would be very different. This would have never have ever gone to this extent.
No. When they didn't even like put her in handcuffs when she was freaking out in the house like that. Like that was
right.
A lot. Yeah. No, she forgot what I was gonna say. I lose my train of thought a lot because of the ADD, you know. But
we also have a tractor going in.
Hopefully you can't hear that.
So I don't know if you hear. When I won, my court case the other day when she didn't show up and it was dismissed, I thought to myself as we were walking out, like, this is a great victory for me and the guys. But I felt like, oh, it's only 2 out of 3. Like, we need to get some justice for Greg. And I would text them, within 15 minutes of getting out of there. So to see like what happened yesterday with the indictments for Greg, I think I was more excited for Greg yesterday than I was for me getting my court dismissed. Not to say that he was in like the shadows or anything like that. I think he's been more. He hasn't been as outspoken.
That definitely seems true.
I was so happy for him. Like I said, like finally this guy is getting justice. And I mean, we were on a phone call yesterday with our best friends, and the news came forward, and I was like, oh, I'm so happy for Greg. I was just, I don't know how you felt, but I felt I was way more happy for him yesterday than I was for my own court case being dismissed.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is so crazy. Like the forging, I guess the doctors. I saw in one of these reports. I guess like some people have the like news people. They have the indictment out.
Yes.
So like forging a doctor's note. And this kind of goes a little bit back to why I started paying attention to this in the first place, which is I was working in emergency services in the hospital with a Baker X who would come in to help the doctors figure out who needed to be, hospitalized on the psych unit and who could be like given a discharge plan for outpatient, that kind of thing. And I, would see all the time people who come in with the cops because they like made a suicidal threat or something and their boyfriend or girlfriend called. And a lot of time it was just like, oh, I wanted this or that out of a fight, or I wanted their attention. And so I was like looking at a lot of what she was saying on, Dave's channel, what he was covering. And it started making me pay more attention because I was like, I don't really think that she's saying this because she genuinely feels this way or wants help. It seems like there's a motive here, a goal to achieve by saying, like, I'm going to hurt myself. And I was seeing like him getting dogpiled day after day on like different Reddits and stuff like that for speaking up about this stuff. And they're saying like, she's mentally ill. Like you should leave her alone. What you're doing is like creepy and wrong. And I was just like, dude, that was the first time I ever made a video of myself like talking about this. I was like, I never meant to do that. It just gonna happen. I was like, dude, people need to leave this guy alone because what he's trying to do is just help people who are actually the target of someone who's actually quite manipulative. And then you see something like the forgery of the doctor's note and all that with Greg, because I think I learned about Greg's stuff before yours. I don't know the timeline of when that all started to come out. It's been so long and I lose the details.
All blur.
Oh my God. This feels like 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, just not to cut you off, but
No, you're good.
It's the amount of information that has gone on and it goes on in the background that people don't see. I would say 75% of what's happening in the background. There's just so much.
And you just black it out.
You
just don't remember half
even
of it.
like Omar talking about our court case last night.
Yeah.
And his attention to detail and being able to recollect the details is insane. Insane in a great way. But I forgot at least half of what he was going through. And
we were listening. We're like, oh yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about
that. Oh my God, that was
yeah.
terrible when that happened.
Every couple of minutes,
so
I would just be saying to myself, like, oh yeah, how did I forget about that? That's huge. But yeah, and sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're fine. I'm here to listen to you talk, so we're good.
I would love to know like your thoughts on what's transpired. I feel like, we always get the questions of what we think. I would love to hear what your thoughts are, especially with the interviews that have come out in the last 24 hours and, the indictments and my dismissal. What are your initial thoughts on everything?
I do think this is like some sort of, it's almost like an impulsive, like tornado. It felt like of, her just doing anything and everything she could to kind of get out of the situation that she's in. I don't think she's ever really been in a position where she absolutely could not get what she wanted. There were no options left. So it was kind of interesting to hear about how that was actually going down behind the scenes and all that. I'm not saying she's not crazy, but I do think there's a lot of calculated decisions that she makes. And I think that people, especially people who don't really follow this stuff and they're just kind of catching on, don't really give enough credit to how manipulative and strategic she is. Omar has been one of my closest friends for a while now, and I hated just knowing, and I didn't know specifics. I didn't ask, despite certain people's accusations. I didn't ask what was going on behind the scenes. I don't want to know anything that's privileged. That's not my place. But I could tell because he started to be like less present. I felt like, especially because we were, like talking like every other night or something. I feel like on YouTube for like hours and hours. Then all of a sudden, I'm not hearing from him as much. He seems a little stressed, and I know I can't ask, but I know what it is. And I'm just like, I know I've seen what this lady does, and I know that that's what's going on right now. But I couldn't really say, too much about it. We couldn't talk about it, so it was kind of hard to just know that was happening and not be able to do anything.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts. I mean, he took it personal, and
well, he like really, really would do anything to try to, not that you need like saving, but save people. People try to.
Yeah, I had the mentality of I've lost multiple times. If I lose again, I lose again.
Yeah.
Yes, there's many things that come with losing, and not just the actual loss, but like the ramifications of what I faced. Yep. But I told him, like, I believe in you 100%. I didn't believe in who I had before. And he and I had some pretty deep conversations, and you can tell that weighed on him. And I'm so appreciative that his level of empathy that he had for me, and that he did take it personally. He went to the highest levels of the mountains to be able to back me in my corner. So I'm so appreciative of him, and the team that he assembled is like the Avengers. So I mean, every single person, and you know what I mean when I say that, was like a top tier individual.
I mean, I think that it was so personal because there was personal attacks on him and his family. You know, like I think that.
But I will say, before the personal attacks came, he was still
committed,
still very committed,
right?
And then the personal attacks, like he's like
that ramps it up. Like, you bring my kids and my wife into this.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean,
right?
It's not funny, but I almost like don't know how to react, and then just like incredulously like laugh at it sometimes.
Speaking of him, and I don't know why he has such a bone to pick with Omar. I mean, I used to think about this quite a bit. Like, I've spent thousands of hours thinking about this whole Laura situation, what I could have done differently. And that's another conversation for another day. But with her attorney, Gingy, whatever you want to call him, I've never done anything to him. I truthfully have never done anything to
besides
him.
Not talk to him.
Not talk to him.
When he demanded that you had to talk to
and
him.
Said
and he was offended.
Yeah, and I mean, he's wondering why I filed a bar complaint against him. He called the police on me when the judge approved me to be there, when I had a subpoena to be there, and he reached out to my old counsel that I wasn't using, and he said, "Well, they told me this." It's like, well, you didn't talk to me, so I don't know why you have such a problem with that. And I think my email just crushing him was really what set him off. It made him look stupid.
He watches everything of mine, so he'll definitely. It's crazy because like the first and only conversation I ever had with that man was like a nice message saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, Laura's been saying she's being harassed, and you posted a document publicly that has her name and address and phone number and all that on it. You might want to, redact that. I don't know if you did it on purpose. Just trying to help. I just said, I don't think that anyone should be harassed."
Yeah.
Which he and I have very different definitions of harassment. I think talking about somebody when they're not present is not harassment. At best, it's like rude. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then the
last, nobody's ever incited violence against either of them. Said that we should blow them up. Nothing like that.
No, I would never want that. I want to make that very known. I am coming from the standpoint of just his anger towards us. And I've never said anything to him. And this is the first time I've ever said something. So he can really, put that.
The last thing he did before he left social media, or like at least one of the last things, was to publish my home address and phone number on his law firm website. And so it's like, do you understand how crazy that is when you think about how the only time I ever talked to you was to help you with that? And then you're like, you know what? Fuck you, Lauren. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to anybody out there that's had the ramifications and the ripple effect of these two. And I honestly, for the longest time, I hoped that she would just turn a new leaf and become happy, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think just of her being behind bars is going to be the only thing that changes. And I don't know his deal. I've never spent enough time thinking like what would happen if, he ever went to jail, but
it's so interesting how they are so closely similar and like the way that they will attack certain things. Like, we were listening to something this morning about him being upset about what Rachel Juarez said on a podcast and how he like attacks this one statement. And it's so similar to what Laura was doing in our motions of like attacking these singular things, but then not addressing anything else.
The other 99%.
Right. And it's so interesting to see how they have found each other.
Yeah. When I first heard about Rachel being on Steve's podcast talking about this stuff, and people were talking to me about it, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that. That sounds boring. It sounds boring. But I gave in and I did start listening to her. I was like, okay, well, she's actually kind of cool. And so I watched her debate with him. And it's now, coming back to bite me because I didn't know her before. We're friends now, but I didn't know her before. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm in love with her. And now people are like making running jokes about how much I love her all the time. I'm like, I swear to God, it's just not like that.
Hey, I beat you
yeah.
with the Uber the other day to ride out of San Francisco to go to Oakland with her and
To
then
chat.
come back.
Yeah.
Just to hang out and chat.
Damn it. I know people like to make fun of me, but the more I try to tell people this is not a thing, the more they think it's a thing. If I had a crush on someone, I wouldn't fucking talk to them. That's just how I'm wired. This is not a thing.
But
She's so well.
she's so.
I would get in your Uber too, man.
What'd you say?
I would get in your Uber too.
Oh, I know. I looked for you after. I was like, we were ordering the Waymos to leave the restaurant.
Like, did I forget to tell people?
You booked it out of there.
Yeah, Irish goodbye for sure.
Yeah.
You did.
So, but I don't blame you. I wish I could listen to them talk all day, but I know they have families to feed, and I'm not their only client. So,
It's just crazy to think about with the amount of time suck this was.
Oh yeah, the group text of 100 texts a day has now come to a close. So, but, yeah.
All right, guys. I know you got to get going, and I should probably go get some. I've been trying to put off getting more like food and stuff for the room because I'm leaving in the morning, but I've exhausted my resources here, so I gotta go do that.
Like, I have to eat something.